Welcome to Adekyn Plays Railway Empire. All right, welcome back to part four, believe it or not, of our gold rush scenario. And we had set up, we've set up in our part three, we set up this cluster over here. It's a four-city cluster from LA to San Diego to Yuma to Tucson. And you can see we've got quite the line going here. Lots of trains running every which way. We've got our warehouse set up that's feeding six of our uh, raw resources into those four cities. And of course, the big thing we have to fix now in this particular setup is the is this. We've got meat, 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 meat. So we need to buy all these meat food processing plants. They all should be relatively inexpensive just because it's so inefficient to have four of them like this. So we're going to buy that one, and I'm going to buy them all while I hope they're still cheap. Buy that one. Buy that one. And one more in Los Angeles. Okay, now we need to think about what do we want to put in its place. We clearly need beer somewhere. We need to, that's a basic one for these small towns to grow. If you look at what the resources are, as we've said before, the basics to start out are wheat, cattle, corn, logs, beer, and meat. So we've got wheat, we've got cattle over here, we've got logs over here, we've got corn from our warehouse, and we've got meat in abundance. So we're going to fix that so we only have one meat, and we need a beer. So let's just walk down the line. Let's just make Yuma into a brewery. So we're going to demolish that meat industry and build ourselves a nice brewery in Yuma. Now, as the wheat comes down, this is the beauty of a warehouse. As the wheat comes down into our warehouse, the lines that are taking warehouse goods to Yuma will automatically adjust for us and start taking more wheat to Yuma because it has the beer. So the next thing we'd want to look at, the next industry that would come up would be a weaving industry to make cloth. So why don't we just go to San Diego and we'll demolish this meat industry we don't want, and we'll put in a weaving factory close to our freight line, and that'll give us, now we have three of these things going. Now, typically we would go, the next one after weaving, the next is actually a tailor, and we could certainly put a tailor in Los Angeles, but let's take a look at our objectives here. We have to make this alcohol, so I'd like to go ahead and put alcohol. It's too early for this cluster, but for our overall objectives, we're going to put alcohol here in Los Angeles. So I'm going to demolish this, put in a brewery, a distillery, excuse me, and plop that in. And now we're making alcohol in Los Angeles. And keep in mind, we have the two things we need are the okay, we have the sugar and the fruit coming in from over here into our warehouse, which will then feed that alcohol industry distillery in Los Angeles. So now what we need to do, of course, is they should start growing as first of all, the whole theory of this the whole thing is that these guys will, because we have these direct lines between all the cities, that the meat that's created in Tucson will be passed along to all these other sites. Similarly, the beer will go out to the other three cities. The textiles will go to the other three cities. As we add more industries, they will pass the goods along appropriately to one another, and they're getting all the raw resources they need coming in to support what they're doing. So um, we're going to end up setting up let's see, we're going to do we've got our weaving. Our next ones will be a tailor and a sawmill. So we kind of skipped the tailor and sawmill in favor of distillery, but we'll do tailor and sawmill next as the spots open up here, and we should be starting to see these grow just from that change, just as simple as that. So I'm going to leave this for a minute and go back over here because we still have this one over here isn't working just right because San Francisco is still being a pain, but you can see it's improved a lot. We did make some changes. It's gone up about 10, 11%. So let's see what we could do to help San Francisco. Now, over here in this one, I really think if we were to take an honest evaluation and compare this four city cluster with this one for initial growth is so much better because the way the warehouse is structured and the goods that are being provided in that warehouse, it's going to promote the growth of these, the combination of this and this. We have 8 resources being pumped into, or potentially being pumped into our cluster here, and there are only like 14, and some of them are late things like coal and iron ore and what have you that we wouldn't even have to get to those in order to grow the sizes we want. So that's a really strong setup. Over here we have pretty good, but our wheat isn't coming to everybody. It's being it's very much sent into Shasta and not necessarily to everybody else. Similarly, our logs are going into Carson City, but not to other places. So it's not as strong, and then our sugar is like an exception basis into Sacramento. So to strengthen this, we need to get some stuff into San Francisco. So what we're going to have to do in this case, because we're getting good growth, let's look at Carson City. It's 107,000. We're done with Carson City. I mean, we'd like for it to keep growing, but it's in great shape. 92,000 in Shasta. It's in great shape. Um, Sacramento, 82,000. It's in good shape. Oh, and here we go. Just to make sure it doesn't start dropping on us, I'm going to put in the museum, the magic elixir of growth, of city growth, and that'll give us 10% insurance growth, if you will. It increases our demand satisfaction by 10% by putting that museum in. That's my favorite building. So we've got a museum in Sacramento. It should be good. It's already big enough. So we just got to work on San Francisco. So we're going to be specific. Had we done a better job, let's say, we wouldn't even have to do this. This whole line should be feeding San Francisco better than it is. But at any rate, we're going to work on San Francisco specifically and clean that up. And next time we'll do a better job setting up our environment more like we did over in the LA cluster, if you want to call it that. So it would be nice to get wheat and corn and logs into San Francisco, just basic fundamental building blocks of a city. So let's just see if we can't run some wheat. Well, we know we can. Of course we can. Let's see if we can run wheat to, yes we can, to San Francisco. And how would it want to go? Perfect. It'll go down the side. It'll take our freight line and it'll run right into it. Beautiful. That's why we have that freight line that can go in either direction rather, excuse me. So we're going to give it a train, and I think to be safe, we'll give it another train. All right, so now we've got wheat coming in there. Let's put logs in this San Francisco. So right now, The only thing we have coming out of this is to Carson City. So we want to pick up our freight line, which is this guy. So it should be pretty easy for us to run a line from here down. We have to go around the city, down to our freight line here. Take our usual 3-step process, link to the closest, cross over, and then check our signal and say, don't you drive on this side. And we should be able to run a line from our logs to San Francisco. And there it goes. And let's go ahead and give him a helper as well. So we'll run 2 lines of logs. So we have logs and wheat coming in. And we'd like to have, what else would we like to have? Now just those basics. Corn. We'd like to have corn and meat, and those are both in our warehouse. That's where it gets a little frustrating. Let's just see what's going on with our. Here's our San Francisco line. Let's see what it is actually doing. Oh, that's all right. Sorry, not sure what I'm doing here. There we no. There. Sorry. I kept clipping the wrong one. We've got 2 running to the warehouse. This is a case, and we can see the traffic is good. There's not a problem with our traffic anymore, which I think there was at one point. So we should be able to clone these. As soon as it gets the opportunity to pop out there. I'm going to clone him a couple of times. And once they get clearance, we'll see what's able to come out here. And of course, we've got a random breakdown right in front of our warehouse, jamming things up, but it'll clear up. Okay, again, we're still shipping meat. That's why we're not getting any corn in there. And that's just because it needs so much meat that we can't, we're at this point, we're not keeping up with it, but we will do better, I believe, once this goes. Here we go. San Francisco is now growing. We're up to 63%. So that has really helped. Getting those logs in there helped a lot. And it actually says it needs some cotton. Why would it need cotton? Because it has a textile. And that is also coming from our warehouse. So this warehouse line needs to just do a better job of getting stuff into San Francisco. So we got cattle. We've got one that's emptying out. We've got one more cattle. It's just having a time keeping up with the cattle demand. But let's just make sure we haven't created a traffic jam. We do have some. Okay, we've got plenty of trains running now because we are getting into a backup. So we're really adding more trains is not going to help us at this point. We've got to make it work with the ones we have coming in. And if we had to, if we really felt like, gosh, this isn't working, we could run a line out of here to the warehouse a different way, or even directly from, say, the corn or something to pump more stuff in there if we really had to fix it. But I think we're good now. We should be able to move forward. And of course, San Francisco tough automatically because we can't put a museum in there. We've got the bank taking up our slot. And again, I'm not worried about these trains, although running this on our running the 46 mile an hour express train would be nice on our LA line. Speaking of lines, it's time for us. Well, first of all, let's check back on how we're doing. Let's see if we've actually gotten some growth. Growing, 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 and growing. Lovely, lovely. And these exits where you have no suitable freight, that's no problem. That just means that the city has everything it needs coming out of this warehouse. Let's just make sure our warehouse is staying full. We need to pump up the wheat deliveries. Let's add a couple more trains. Bring down some corn. Bring down some wheat. Our warehouse, corn and wheat are in great demand, and that's fine. That means our cities are getting what they need. Um, but we need to pump it up and make sure we have enough. And let's see if how we're doing on this. See, we've got it's being supplied with the breweries getting enough, and we could probably look at. Here's a good point. Let's hit the pause again. Now, optimizing these. How big do we want our meat factory to be, our meat processing plant to be, to support 4 cities? That's a great question. That's going to, I intend to do a little more study on that and come up with a nice method for doing that. But right now, we'll use the pile drive through it kind of method, if you will. We've got a demand for meat of 0.5. So if we assume it's kind of 0.5 across the way, we need 2 per week of meat to satisfy the needs of our little chain. It's going to grow a little bit as the cities grow. So 2 is actually what we're producing right now. So we're actually in pretty good shape. So what I would like to do is actually overproduce by a little bit, run it up to 4.8, and make sure that we have enough meat going out there to supply the rest of our lines. And then that means that in here, we want to bump this up so that it is creating a similar amount, 4.8 a week. So if we know that our cattle demand is 4.8, and actually it isn't 4.8, is it? I think it's actually 7.2. Oh, okay, good. 7.2 to hit that number, then we're going to need to bump this up again. There we go. Now we're producing enough cattle to supply the requirements of the meat. The meat's creating enough meat to supply the requirements of our cluster. So now we've got a good thing going with meat. And we can do the same thing with beer. We can look at the requirements for beer is about a half. It's about the same thing, about 2. And you'll also notice, look at this, 91% satisfaction. That's what we love to see. Yuma's getting everything it needs right now. So we want the similar thing with our brewery. Our brewery is creating 2. Let's bump it up 1 more. So now it needs more wheat. So that just shows us that we've got to be shipping more wheat. See, we're out of wheat here because it's really hard to keep up with it. And let's just see how much we're creating here. Oh, this needs to be bumped up for sure. That's 4. That's not enough. Now, remember, all 4 cities need wheat. It's just that Yuma needs more because of the beer. So here, and you notice all these lines lose a little bit. That's because you don't actually make money going to the warehouse. Kind of a bummer, but you actually make your money off of these goods when they get actually delivered into the city. So you'll see a slight negative here because that's basically the operating cost of this railroad. So there's no income for these, so to speak. There's only uh, what's the word I'm looking for? There's only expenses. Yeah. So we've got beer kind of optimized. We can do the same thing with textiles. If we look at this, good 79%, excellent. Go to textiles. There actually is no demand yet, so there's no point in us bumping that up just yet, but we will eventually. And 67% here, 64 just dropped. But our this we can definitely pop up because we've got plenty of stuff coming in there, so we can produce 1.6, and we've got plenty of raw materials coming in to support that. So we're looking good there, and let's just see how we're doing. We're up to 77 alcohol. We've got 3 more years to make it, so we're looking pretty good there, I think. So again, this comes down to building our cities, and we'll just let this thing run. But we've got a beautiful infrastructure out here at the LA. Let's call it the LA cluster. The San Francisco, look at this. San Francisco is now up to 71%. Much, much better. Everything is working out better. We need 14 cattle. And let's see what this guy's giving us. I don't think we actually own this. We don't, but he's bumped it up. He's bumped it up automatically. So that's another thing. If you don't feel like messing with this, the private owners will figure out, gosh, we need X amount to go out from here, and I need that much to supply it, and they will increase the load. So you don't have to buy these industries. I just like to own them because you make a lot of money on them. That's a pretty simple reason. Let's see how our warehouse over here is looking for goods. We've got plenty of cattle. Corn and milk are low, and the rest of these are quite high because we're not using them up at any tremendous pace. But if you look at our distillery here, he's got plenty of both. Our tailor could use more textiles, so there's a good point. And that's the textiles that are down here. So this textile, the weaving factory, is not producing quite enough. However, I'm not going to bump that up because that would create a greater demand that we would have to then meet with this cotton, which could actually end up retarding our growth here. And the big thing we obviously is to get this to grow. So we'll pass on optimizing that just this minute. Eventually, you would absolutely want to do that, of course. Oh, and I almost forgot. The big thing we need to do now is we need to set up a big long line. And I do mean long. We're going to go all the way to Salt Lake City. If I can find it, it's way up here in the mountains. And we're going to set up a line. And we're going to run a line, and this is going to be a challenge. But we're going to run this line. Actually, I'm going to start the other end because I know it's going to be hard. We're going to run a line out of San Francisco all the way to Salt Lake City and start running passengers there. So let's see if we can come out of here. And this is, I wish I had thought ahead on this one. There we go. We got out. Good. That's all we need to do is be able to get out. And we're going to run this line. Can we run it? Yeah, we could just run it over everything if we wanted to. We got ridiculous amounts of money. Maybe that'd be fun to do. Let's see what we can do here. Okay, so we've got this ginormous line. There's no reason to go through these mountains if we don't need to. And I apologize. I know I tend to get way too high. I get up here and I know it's hard for you to see. But I'm definitely a, shall we say, big picture guy. I don't look at the details as much as the large overall picture. But I do know I get a little too far up sometimes and it's hard for people to see. Now, so we just went right, blasted right through the mountain. Now, obviously, we could come down and around and up here and save some money, but this is only $2 million to make this whole line, and believe me, it will pay for itself pretty fairly quickly. It will definitely pay for itself eventually. That's for sure. Let's clean up one little. Nah, take that back. So now let's go for it. $2 million line, and let's double it up. Now keep in mind how much that cost us to build that originally. Now if we double it up, watch how much less the second line is. It should be significantly less. And it's so long and oh, let me see what's going on here. Okay, we're going to have to. Okay, it doesn't like that first part. It doesn't want to sync up for me. Or am I on the wrong side? Maybe that's it. Operator error. So we'll just lock it in a couple of places. So now we've got this long line. So 1.9 million to original and about 700 to build the second part. So about 2.6 million or so to build the whole line. Not awful, not awful. Sounds worse than it is. So we'll put in some supply towers and do our signaling. Oh, I just no, that's right. I thought I put it on the wrong line. And now we'll set up our signals. Make sure these guys are not waiting on each other at each end, because they will literally, if I ran two trains and didn't put these signals in, they would literally, one would sit in Salt Lake City and one would sit in San Francisco, and they would wait on each other. Well, with the supply chain, supply depots, we would be able to run probably, it was two tracks. We could run, they would at least run out, but then they wouldn't be able to come back. Yeah, it would be a mess. It would be a mess. Just put the signals in it and make sure we don't have this mess. I really like the design of the game that they give you these objectives, the scenarios or the missions or whatever. Even the free play, the free mode, they give you a set of objectives because you, honest to goodness, can do so many things with this game. I mean, we're just touching the surface. Even these design, city design, and track layout designs, and the strategy of the sports. There are so many others we could do. In fact, as I go along, if people like these, I'll make some more videos showing other ways to do this. But there are so many options and so many ways to build this out. And if you look at this map, well, I got a second. We haven't touched all this up here. There's a whole bunch of cities up here, Nampa and Portland and Elko and Winnemucca and all these cities that we could, Milford, all these places we could grow if we wanted to. Setting up more clusters or just using a different strategy or what. Bodie, poor Bodie's sitting there not not growing because we haven't bothered to hook them up. There's just so much you could do, but there's only so much time. I mean, you just get, you can only build so much. And you could probably say if I'd stop talking, I could build more. So let's do that. Let's set up this line, Salt Lake City to San Francisco. And we're going to do an express line here. And I am going to finally get ourselves, we'll get this Rogers American. Now we have some slopes in this one, but it's going to be hauling express only. And we're going to add this Rogers, which is a very fast train. We don't really need a security guard on it, but that's okay. And then we're going to set up a line from San Francisco to Salt Lake City, make it express, put a Rogers on it, and then we will run at least a dozen trains here. Could run more. That's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, let's go for 14, 13, and 14. Okay, so we've got 14 trains running back and forth between Salt Lake City, and they're all just queued up waiting on, see, they're already starting to spread out for us because that just loading, unloading will naturally spread these out for us the way we need them. So we're looking good there. Let's see, is San Francisco still growing? Oh, there we go, 73%. All right, way to go. Now, how we looking here? 83% in LA. 87% in San Diego. 94% in Yuma. 80% in Tucson. So now we've got ourselves a line that works. This is how you grow cities in this game. And we've got these. This guy here. This is the Yuma line, and he's not getting any. He's not getting supplies. So let's see if there's a reasonable place to pop some in. There we go. So our line coming this way gets to hit this supply tower, but the line coming this way that just goes to Yuma. Now the one that goes on to Tucson is fine because it'll hit the supply tower, I think. Yeah. Where is it? I failed to put one on here. Shame on me. All right. So start rolling. So now what we're doing is waiting for these cities to hit that next plateau. When they hit that, what is it I'm wanting to say? When they hit the 40,000, here we go. LA has hit 40,000. So let's see, let's slow it down here. I think it's time for textiles. See, the beauty of this system is it kind of doesn't matter which one we put where. it's so let's put a textile industry in. Did I say textile? I goofed, didn't I? I already have a textile. Danny. I goofed, I think. Oh no, good. Said one thing, I got it right, even though I was saying the wrong thing. So now we've got a tailor in LA. He's going to get textiles from San Diego. San Diego is developing those textiles because it's getting cotton from our warehouse. So that should work just great. And let's see if we've got any other open slots. Close. When we hit 40,000 with San Diego, we'll be able to build something there. Yuma is getting close now, although it's dropped off a little. These things do ebb and flow depending upon, once in a while there'll be there could be even a train breakdown that causes a little backup, and it could cause a city's growth. See this, we've dropped below 60 here for a moment. They're missing beer and they're missing wheat. Obviously, that's the big thing. And we're still, I mean, it's just all we can do to keep the wheat in this place. I don't play, I don't pay blackmail. I have to do some work to see whether it is worthwhile. Okay, here we can put one in. We definitely want to go with our sawmill because we've got that lumber nearby feeding us. So we'll put a sawmill in Tucson near our freight thing, and we'll look at what kind of demand for logs we have now. 2.3 here, and the rest of the cities are about a half, 1.5, 2, 3, 4. We need about 5, I guess. So let's see here. Let's bump this up one more. Now, why is that all the way out there? Thomas Ranch to Tucson. It's going all the way down here to turn around. That is not necessary. So how do we fix that? Ah, we're going to connect this. Where are we? Okay, what we didn't have is a turnaround for this little line. So we're going to make sure that we can have a crossover here. And our line that was going into Tucson was actually going all the way down to the next city, Yuma, in order to turn around. Now let's see what happens. Let's see what it looks like now. There we go. That's much better. Now it's going to go in do its thing and come back immediately. So it'll run a lot faster and keep that traffic off this line out here that's completely unnecessary. So you can see it's coming back from uh, this long trip it didn't need to take. And I'm going to give it a helper. Make sure we're getting the job done. Because they're having to haul logs and wood, and they're both needed here. So that line needs to be pretty robust. In fact, we'll make it even more so. That should help everybody. So we've got growth, 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 and we've dipped down here, but that's going to get better when the logs come back. And we're still low on beer, and I think that comes back to, again, trying to get all this wheat in here is a job. They're all eating up my wheat. Let's see if we can't bump up wheat production one more time. And try to get another train coming out of there. And these random breakdowns, this is why the research that, here we go, here's a good one, accelerates train maintenance. So when they have a breakdown, I'm hoping that will help it fix, but certainly the maintenance in the shops will be better. But anything in these research that makes your maintenance better or makes your trains less likely to break down, or even staff like reliability, get stokers on these trains. That can really help you. We don't need conductors on our freight trains, but stokers are really great to increase the reliability so we could get rid of those breakdowns and keep this line moving and keep our wheat coming in. As you can see, it's just there's not enough to feed everybody, so to speak. But we've got growth. San Diego looks like it's wavering. Oh, here we go. It's time to build something else in San Diego. So what would we like? Oh, it's time to build something in Yuma as well. So we can throw in, we did the sawmill in Taylor, we got a distillery. We can throw in a dairy industry. We could even do a paper mill. So let's put a dairy industry in Yuma because Yuma's already stretched. Let's put dairy in San Diego so the milk will come down here to San Diego, and we can do a dairy industry. And again, in case you haven't figured this out yet, the reason we spread these out and try to get each industry represented is that those industries, they take the goods when they create their product, that helps feed the demand in the other cities and helps all the other cities grow. So we did our dairy, and the next one we need really, we're up to the pretty advanced ones, paper mill, tool factory. So paper mill would be easy because that just takes more lumber. So let's try that. Let's put a paper mill in Yuma. And that's going to bump up. Let's see what that does to our demand for logs. 1.1 as opposed to San Diego, which is a bigger city and requires 0.8. So it didn't bump it up a ton. But we could probably do a Thomas Ranch to Yuma. Let's give him some more help. and we're starting to get a fair amount of traffic here. Got a lot of guys waiting. No warnings, no serious issues, but we've got a lot of, yeah, they're moving. They're moving. We're waiting there for a bit, but we're maxing out our line as far as the line goes. It's just a matter now of getting all these industries lined up and keeping them fed. So let's go back again and see how we're doing. Oh, we've already hit our Salt Lake City. I blinked, I missed it. We're up to 3 cities, and we'll be up to 8, I think, pretty soon. I'm still silly San Francisco. Oh, look at that. It's just on the edge, and it just teeters around 60. Corn. I can't seem to get corn or cotton fast enough. Let's just see. We've got plenty of cotton. We're just not getting it there. So I think the way to get it there would be to take one of these trains. I'd like to take that train right there. No, that's Sacramento. Warehouse to San Francisco. Oh, he's got cotton. Good for him. Okay. And San Francisco is growing again. It's just going to keep teetering, but it will hit our 80%. I mean, our 80,000. So I'm happy about that one. These 4 are going to grow. I think we're going to, since I'm just sort of babbling the same thing over and over now, I'm going to take a break from the recording. Going to keep going with this, and I'll come back the next time there's an interesting development or a new phase we need to go through. Now, here's a good view. I hope this comes across on the YouTube video, but look at all these trains coming back in here just making us money like crazy. And we can look at our trains. And except for those ones going to warehouses, there's just a lot of money being made here. In fact, it's 1856. Let's look at our last quarterly report. Sorry. I'll try to edit that out if I can. Our last quarter, we made $11 million in profit, so we're okay. I think we'll be all right on the money. Yeah, there's a money maker for you. All right, let's take a break from the recording, as I said, and then we'll come back in a little bit, and I'll keep going and build this and continue to watch these grow. All right, welcome back. Thanks for hanging in there with us. We've grown up. Here, let me show you what's happened. I did build the university in LA as soon as it hit 60,000, and I watched the cities, and as soon as they hit 60, I put in a museum. We're up to 6 out of 8, so we're near the end. It's in 1857, so we've got 7 more years to hit our goal. But we are. In fact, we hit 90,000 in Los Angeles, so we can put a new industry in there. Our ones we got to grow still are San Diego, which has a museum, but has been on and off spotty with its growth, and Yuma, which has been, remember how great it was early. It's been spotty because I'm having really hard time keeping the wheat up. It's just really hard to keep enough wheat into this warehouse. I've got a lot. Right now we're down to 4. They're consuming it like crazy. I've got, let's see, how many lines do we have running here? We have 9 trains running. I've been putting stokers on these trains to try to keep them from breaking down like this guy did. And we're running wheat just as fast as we can. We've got this pumped up to a max level 5. It's producing 24 wheat per week. We're loading up our trains as fast as we can get them up there. As soon as we get one train out, another one comes in. Immediately starts loading, loads up, and takes off. So we're moving the goods as fast as we can. We've got enough trains to kind of keep a steady flow of trains. We might be able to put one or two more on there. Yeah, why not? Yeah, we'll put one more. Okay. And so we're pumping them in there as fast as we can. It's really having a struggle trying to keep wheat uh, into Yuma. So I think one of the things, I think it's probably could be as simple. This could be real, actually could be a we need another train kind of a deal. We're only running the one train and it's probably not enough. So let's throw a couple more in there. I have, by the way, we've done enough research. We've gotten all the way to our Baldwin. We also have the Decapod, but we have got this Baldwin 10 wheeler. So I finally got off my favorite train, the Dragon, and upgraded them. It cost about 14 million bucks to make all the freight trains into Baldwins. By the way, those lines where you call them automatic, that's actually considered a freight. But this is such a good one. Good maintenance requirements, freight line, 110% tractive power, so it's much more power than the Dragon, as good as the Dragon was. And so we're rocking and rolling. We're at, again, 6 out of 8. And it's San Diego. Let's see, what's Tucson looking like? Tucson's at 106,000. Now, why is it doing so great? See, it's down to 49% now because it's so big. But it's because we had the meat and the sawmill right there, and it was very easy to get what we needed in there. And in fact, somebody's built this thing we do not need. We're going to get rid of that, and we'll put in something that uses that wood. Let's put a paper mill in there and use the wood. Okay, and that's neither here nor there. What we really need is we need this guy to keep growing. Oh, see, he's close, 74,000, and San Diego is 74,000 and 72%. So we're looking good. We're very near the end now. It's 1857. Our target was 1864. So we're doing pretty well. And we've gotten everything else done. We've done all our optional tasks. So we're looking good. Let's see if we can't finish this off. San Diego and Yuma are both growing. So as long as that's happening, we're in good shape. So I'm going to keep this thing going. And we'll stay in record mode even though there's not a lot to do. Now, obviously, I got $91 million. I could go, I could look at all the places. I could go build lines. I could do everything. But I could almost even think about running more wheat down there from somewhere else. But, man, it'd be a long line. Uh-oh. Problem. This will kill us. Do we have too many? I think we have gone one too many trains. Okay. Yeah, we overflowed our line. We just put too many trains running. Now, the other thing we could think about doing is running if Yuma's the one we're worried about. San Diego continues to grow. Oh, San Diego's hit it, so we should be 7 out of 8 now. Yep, all we need is Yuma. Remember, Yuma started as 17,000 people when we first joined. Look at this. It's down. It got so low because of that train problem. I'm going to run corn directly. I also, by the way, to help LA and San Diego and to take pressure off this line, I built a corn line over here, so to speak, and started running corn directly to those other two cities, which helped them. So let me see if I can't help our buddies slow down. We're going to try to help our buddies in Yuma. If we can go directly in, I think we're going to have to just join up and so remember our three-step process: join outside, crossover, check the signals, and we're going to run a line. And here we've got a problem again. I think I've just got too many trains running in there now, going off this way. Shucks. But I still want to have. The warehouse to Yuma has overtaxed us. Our utilization, though, is not grossly high. And here we are, 79,990. 79,990. There we go. We just finished. In 1857. Let's see how we did. That'll be an interesting question. I didn't think so. Didn't like it. Why didn't it like it? We were too slow. Too slow. Guys, my pride would tell me not to even put this out there, but I'm going to. I'm going to post it in honesty. Shame on me. Too slow. Trust me, I will get that faster. That's sad. I've done this before in President and finished really probably 3 years earlier, so I'm going to have to rethink what I'm doing here. It's also, to be honest with you, talking and playing are not isn't ideal, but no excuses, no excuses. I did not get the job done, but we did finish it. We did show some good concepts, I think. Let's see how we're doing. Let's just I'm just going to keep going for a minute just to take a look at. Let's see what we were financially. We were making over $14 million profit per quarter, which is, you know, not peanuts in 1857. So we'll wrap it up here. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it helps you. I think you can see how we grew this one from nothing much faster than we grew our first one because we had the resources better. I'm going to do some thinking and think about how I can make sure that growth happens faster and optimize these lines maybe even a little bit more. So work on that, and I hope you'll join me next time we take a look at Railway Empire. Hope you enjoyed this. Hope it helps. And thank you so much for joining.